Hi everyone, this is Janie from Threads of Life, and I am going to show you today how to tie your own tzitzit. The pattern that we are going to be tying today is the Ashkenazi pattern, and it consists of 5 knots and 4 different series of windings in between those knots. What I do instead of the windings, though, is I use macrame to create a spiraling effect, and it almost looks kind of like a double helix DNA strand, which is another reason why I really like it. Let me show you an example here. This is the tzitzit that I will be teaching you how to tie today. So the Ashkenazi pattern shows us here we have 5 knots. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And in between those knots, we have what are called the windings, or in this case, they are the spiral macrame knots. And there's different numberings for each one. So for the Ashkenazi, it goes a major knot, and then you have 7 windings. Then there's another knot. Then you have 8 windings. Another knot, then you have 11 windings, another knot, and then you have 13 windings, and the final knot. So let's get right into it. Before we do, you may have noticed that this particular tzitzit is attached to a button. This is a design that I've created to go along with the clothing, the garments that I design for the body of Messiah. So if you're interested in getting tzitzit that actually have the button attachment, I'm currently selling tzitzit already pre-made with the button attachment, but I'm going to also be offering the line for the tzitzit that you can tie yourself that will already be attached to this button. So it'll come with the button, the braid, and then you can begin your own tying from there. You'll have the loose threads from there. And right now, all of my tzitzit are made out of 100% hemp fiber. In the future, I may also add linen to the collection, but for now it's hemp. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to use one of my garments as a demonstration. You guys can use any garment or talit katan, as long as it has some kind of hole for you to put your cords through. That's the key. We want to tie it to the garment. Usually when you get your tzitzit cord that's waiting for you to be tied, it'll come similar to this. There'll be a loose knot kind of keeping it all together. And usually all the whites are the same length. They've been pulled to the same length. And then you have your blue cords or threads that usually one is the same length as the whites. And then there's one that's a lot longer. And in typical tzitzit tying, where they do the winding, that's why that blue cord is longer, because that's the cable, or the cord, I should say, that will be wound around these other cords. However, when doing macrame, you actually want to set it up a little bit differently. You don't want just one extra long cord. You want them to be evened out, because you're going to be working both sides. You're going to be working with both blue strands in macrame. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and adjust this now and show you how to do it, because you will most likely need to adjust your own. So all I did is I just untied that loose knot that usually is there when you get your cords, and I'm just kind of going to line these up and just fish them through this hole here, or thread them through the hole. And just kind of encourage them a bit. Okay, so it looks like I got all of them. Okay, so we'll pull that through. Now, as I said earlier, we want to make sure that our cords are evened out on both sides. So the easiest way that I do this is to take the white ones first and just kind of let the blue go. Take your white cords, and I usually will match up the ends first. And get them pretty close to even with each other, okay? And then I'll pull slightly, and I'm continuing to hold here, and I pull so that now is even, as you can see there, okay? So now I'm going to hold these here so that they don't move while I do the same thing that I just did to the blue. So again, we have one really short blue, and then I have this other end which is really long. So I'm just going to kind of pull that shorter end out a while, and then I will go to the ends and even them up. Hopefully you can see this good. Okay, so the blue are even. Now I'm going to pull, and there we go, even those out. And I kind of let my whites go a bit, so let me get those back together. Okay, so now I'm just going to gather it all in my hand and kind of guide it all down, keeping it tight just to make sure, double check that everything's even. The whites are pretty good, and the blue is even. Okay, so hanging on to it real well as I go back up, because I don't want to undo all that evening out that I just did. So now this is where the Tzitzit will begin. The first thing we need to do is tie a knot right about here. And instead of doing a square knot, I'm just going to take the whole thing and loop it through and make one solid knot here right at the end of the garment. And you can adjust this knot, you can adjust the height of it if you want it to be able to swing more. You might want to give it a little bit more room, so you could scoot that knot down a bit. If you don't want it to swing more, if you want your knot to be right there and you want it to just hang straight down, not have a lot of movement, you can bring your knot up a bit. So you notice I have a couple of loose cords here in this knot. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to now take each individual cord and I'm going to pull on it to tighten each one individually, and that will tighten up that knot real well. And you can see them all getting tighter there. So now our knot's nice and small, and we are ready to go. So that is actually the first knot of our Ashkenazi Tzitzit. And I'm just going to pull that a little tighter because I do have some loose cords still. And just kind of tug on each one. Okay, so let's get into the macrame. So we have our first knot in the Ashkenazi. So after that first knot, you might remember, you might not, I kind of said it quickly earlier. The windings, the first set of windings is going to be a count of 7. Okay? Again, we're not doing windings with macrame, we're actually tying it's actually half of a square knot. And we're tying the knot around these white cords. So all you're going to see is blue. So it'll look like a winding, but it's actually a knot. Okay, so let's see. The easiest way to explain this is we are going to take our blue cords and we pull those out to the side. We want all the whites down the center. And we are going to take the blue cord from the right. We're going to go underneath the whites. Hopefully you can see that. Okay, we go underneath the white and we go over the blue cord on the left. Okay, now the blue cord on the left goes over the white and through that little hole, this space here that was made by that first cord. So we go Do that again. We're going to go over the white and through that space. Okay? Now you see that the whites are enclosed now in this little knot between the blues. So we just tighten that up evenly, kind of pull on each side evenly, and just cinch that right up to the top. And that's it. I mean, now we just repeat exactly what we just did 6 more times, because this is number 1, so we have 6 more to do. So we go under the white with the right side, under the white, over the blue on the left. We take the blue on the left, and we go over the white and through the space. And then we just pull evenly until we get to the top. Okay, there's 2. So again, repeat. We go under the white, kind of keep those whites together, over that blue side there, and then we go take the left cord and we pull it over the white and through that space. And again, tighten it up. And you can adjust these. You can push them upwards if you see some white space there and you don't want the white space. You can just push your knots upwards a bit. Let's do one more. Under the white, over the left blue. Take the left blue, go over the white and under, or through, I should say, that space. And you can kind of start seeing now that it is creating a little twist. The more knots you have in a row, the more pronounced that twist will be. So let's continue on. That's 1, 2, 3, 4 we've done. We have 3 more. And I'll just go through this kind of quickly. You can practice as we go along. Okay, that's 5. That is 6. And again, under the white, over the left blue. Then we take the left blue and go over the white and through that space. Okay, so that should be 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, great. It is. So now, after we finish the number of windings or the number of knots for the spiral that we want, depending on the pattern that we're using. Again, if we are tying, this is an Ashkenazi pattern that we are tying. If we were tying the Sephardic pattern, the number of these blue windings or the spiral portion would be different. So you'll need to do some research and find out what the numbering pattern is for the Sephardic before you begin to tie, so that you know how many you need to tie. Okay, so we are done with the first section. Now it is time to tie the next big knot in the series here. So we have this, and we just did this, and now we're going to do the second of the 5 knots. The way I do this is I actually take all of the cords and I split them evenly in half. So you want 1 blue on the left, and you want 3 whites going to the left. You want 1 blue on the right, and 3 whites to the right. Okay, so we're basically just making 2 cords. Think of it as 2 cords out of all of these, and we're going to tie the 2 cords together. Okay? So the way I do this is I start with the left side, and I go underneath the right side. And it's kind of like making a 4. The left goes under the right, and it makes a 4. Okay? And let's see. There we go. Okay. So I make the 4, and then I take that tail of the 4 that I just made by crossing under, and I'm going to send that through that space and pull it, just kind of loop it through and pull it into the direction that I was going with it originally. So just making a knot, but I'm trying to explain it in a way that is easy. We're going to do a square knot. So we tighten that up, okay? And because it's a square knot, now we start from the opposite side. Okay, so we started on the left for that one, now we're going to start on the right. And we're going to make a 4, and we're going to go underneath the left. Okay, so this is a backwards 4. And then we take that 4 tail, and we loop it through and pull it left. Okay, and then we tighten that up. Okay, so there is our second knot in our series of 5 knots that we'll be doing. From here, we begin our next series of windings, or the next section of spiral. And what I usually do is I will want to make sure that we pull our blues aside, and sometimes they don't always end up in a nice position for us. Sometimes they'll end up, on the bottom. Ideally, they should be up top because then these can easily be pulled down. But if you notice on the left side, the blue is kind of underneath these whites. So what I do is I will either just kind of pull it up if it's in the front, or sometimes if it seems like it's in between, a couple of them, I'll actually pull the whites, split the whites in half maybe, and then pull the blue up that way. Just whatever makes it look the most natural is usually what I go with. And then I bring the whites back down to the center. Excuse me, I'm bumping my camera. Bring the whites back down to the center, and then we start again with our blues. And we always go in the same direction with the blue cords because we want to keep that spiral consistent all the way down the tzitzit, okay? So let's review the blue again. We start with the right side blue. Just adjust, there we go. I want to make sure you can see this. So we start with the right side blue and we go underneath the white, under the white, over the left blue. We take that left blue and we go over the white and through that space. Okay, and then we pull that to tighten. And you just kind of tighten it up, make sure it's even, make sure it looks good. That first knot is usually the one that will give you a little bit of trouble, might loosen up on you a bit. So just make sure it's tight, but you don't want to go too tight because you want to try to keep your white cords pretty flat. You don't really want them to bunch up. The more they bunch up, the rounder your spiral will be and the skinnier your tzitzit will be. So I like to try to keep them wide so that this spiral has a nice, wide shape to it. Anyway, let's continue. So now we take our right blue cord again and we go underneath the white, over the blue on the left. We take the blue on the left and we go over the white and through the loop and tighten. Okay, that's 2. Oh, I forgot to mention on this particular winding set, we are going to tie 8. So we've done 2 so far. Let's go again. So we start with the right, we go underneath the blue, underneath the white. So you can see I'm going under there. And we go over the blue on the left. And then we take the blue that's on the left, and we go over the white and through the space. And tighten evenly. Okay, and again, the blue on the right goes underneath the white, over the left. Blue. Left blue goes over the white and through that space. And tighten evenly. Should make a song out of this. Okay, so go right blue under the white, over the left. Left blue over the white, and through that space on the right. And tighten. And again, make sure you go under all of the white with that right blue. I kind of use my index finger here to hold that blue in place so that it keeps a space here that's easy to navigate. Like that. If you let go, you kind of lose that space, and then you have to kind of wrangle and wrestle with it a bit. So how many have we done here? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we have 2 more left on this particular set. So again, take the right blue, go under the white, over the left blue. Take the left blue, go over the white and through that space. And one more. Under the white, over the left, over the white, and under the right. Okay, so that's the 8. And you can see now, like I said, the more knots you have, even though it's just one more knot, it tends to spiral just a little bit more than that first set. So we're going to do another square knot, just like we did right here. We're going to do another one down here. So we separate our whites out. We already have our blues off to the side. We can pull 3 whites to the right, three whites to the left. And you can actually start your square knot from the right or the left, but I always start from the left just so that I can keep track, because I want all of my square knots to be the same, just for consistency. It's really up to you. I'm a bit of a perfectionist, so that's the way I keep track of it. But, feel free to do it the way you want to do it. But a square knot is, start on one side and then the second half starts on the other side. So you do want to keep it a square knot. Okay, so my square knots, I start on the left. I make a 4 with my square knot. I take that tail of that 4 and I go through that space and pull it out to the right and tighten up to the top. Okay, and then I do the other half of the square knot, which is the opposite, which I start on the right. I make a 4 shape. I take that 4 tail and I go through the hole, up and over and in, and through and pull. And tighten. And you can do the same thing we did at the first knot here. You can pull, if you want it really tight, you can pull on each cord. If you have 1 or 2 cords that are loose on you in that knot, you can pull these each and they'll tighten right up for you. Okay, so here we go again. Now we need to pull our blues off to the side so that we can begin our next section of spiral, or windings as they're called. So this one comes out nice and easy. It's right on top, which is really nice. That's where we want it. This one, however, is kind of underneath. Well, there's a space right there. When I turn it around, I can see that there's a nice clean space for it to come up. So I'm going to use that space and just pull it straight up and then turn it back to the front and pull my whites towards the center. Okay, so we continue on with our winding, which you all know how to do now, but we'll continue to walk you through it. So we start with the right blue. We go under the white and over the left blue, and we take the left blue. We go over the white and under the right blue and tighten. Now this series of windings or spiral, we are going to tie 11 of these knots. So again, we take our right blue, we go under the white, over the left, left blue over the white, under the right, and tighten. And again, the right blue under the white, over the left, left blue over the white, under the right. And tighten. that up evenly. So I'm going to continue on. I will continue tying this set, and I'll speed up the video for you so it doesn't take forever for you to watch, and you can follow along with me if you like. And we'll get to that next knot here momentarily. Okay, and this is knot number 11. And just to make sure, let me count them again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Okay, so now we take our whites and we pull them out to the side, 3 on the left and 3 on the right, and we tie another square knot. So again, I start on the left and I loop through, and then I take the right, make a 4, and loop that through. Okay, so the last section is going to be a series of 13 windings or blue spiral knotting. Okay, so let us pull our blues out to the side as we've done before. And if you're not sure how to pull it, if it looks like it's underneath or behind, you can turn it and you'll see, oh, okay, well, it's actually on top, it's just in the back. So I'm going to leave it where it is and just pull it out to the side, turn back around, and then grab these whites and pull these down to the side. Okay. All right, so let's go ahead and do that. Start on this next series. So again, we're doing 13 windings. And I'm kind of holding this up for you because leaning over this camera is getting difficult. So I don't know if you can see as well though when I hold it. So I'm going to try to keep it there for you. So let's do 13 of the same blue windings that we just did. And again, I'll speed this up a bit so this video doesn't get too long. So again, we go underneath the white, over the left, left goes over the white and under the right. Okay, so we have one more to make 13. And then we have one more square knot. And we're done tying. Okay, so let's tie our square knot. Let's pull our whites to the side, as we've done before, and tie the square knot, starting with the left. To make a 4, we take that 4 tail and we go through the 4 and out the right side. And tighten that up. And then we take it from the right side and we make a 4. Okay, and then we take that tail of that 4 and we go through the loop and we pull it out. And we tie the knot that way, tighten the knot. Okay, so we have tied our first tzitzit. You'll want to repeat this for each of the 4 corners of your garment or your tallit katan. And then once you're done, you'll want to determine what length to cut your tails. You could leave them if they're all even in the same length. These are pretty close. The whites are pretty close. I like to usually even mine up. I'll cut them to the shortest length, and the way that I do that is I will take the whites only. I pull the blues aside so I don't accidentally cut those. And I pull them out so that they're nice and straight, and then I look at the ends and I say, okay, which one's the shortest? Looks like this one here, looks like this one here on the bottom is the shortest, so I'm going to cut it to that length. Okay, and then I'll do the same thing with the blue. Take those by themselves, and I pull those out and see which one is the shortest, and then I cut to the shortest there. I recommend waiting to cut until, again, you have all 4 of your tzitzit tied on your garment, because somehow it happens that some of these tails may end up shorter than some of the others. So you want to be able to compare them all to each other and make sure that you're cutting them all to the same length. If that's what you want. If you want them to be random, then go for it. I would encourage you to be unique, for sure, and do what pleases you and what makes you the most comfortable. One thing to note about this type of attachment, which I'm not sure if I mentioned at the beginning, you can't take these off. Once they're tied on, they're permanent. The only way to take them off would be to cut them, which we don't want to do that right now because we just put all that work in. But the only way to remove them from your tallit or your garment would be to cut them. Now, with the garments that I make, I would not recommend tying them this way to the garments that you're going to want to wash in the laundry. The main reason for that is because this blue can bleed. It might bleed, and you wouldn't want it to bleed all over your clothing. Tallits don't get washed very often, I don't think. They don't get that dirty. So you could easily tie something like this to a tallit. A tallit katan you could use, but those would probably get dirty, especially if you live in a hotter climate. You'd be sweating. As you could probably see, I'm sweating. I'm in Hawaii, and it's pretty humid here. So you want to be able to wash whatever it is. If you want to be able to wash whatever it is you want your tzitzit attached to, you'll want to consider how you want to attach them. And that's why I offer the button option, because they are so easy to remove. And I'll just demonstrate it real quickly so that you can see. You simply fold your tassel against the button and you fish it through the buttonhole. Okay, so it's in, and then it automatically relaxes, and then you just pull, and you have your tzitzit. So again, I will be offering the loose cords with the button attached for you to tie yourself. If that's something you would like to do, you can purchase those from me at my Etsy shop, and I'll include the link here for you. Otherwise, you can use the usual, typical way of tying it onto your garments as well, with just the loop. So I hope you enjoyed this tzitzit tying tutorial, and I hope that you will be brave and take the step and try to learn how to tie your own tzitzit. I pray that this was a blessing, and until next time, thank you for your time, and have a wonderful fall festivals coming up. Shalom.